from the CBS Bay Area studios, this is KPIX 5 News.
Good morning. It's 7:30, Sunday, November 12th. I'm Phil Matier.
And I'm Melissa Kane. And about 20 children are recovering this morning after a stairwell collapsed in San Diego. It happened last night at a paintball center. According to the San Diego Tribune, kids were running up the stairs to get some pizza when the steps gave out.
I kind of just heard like a crack, and then all of a sudden it just crashed down, and I heard people like screaming when it was coming down, and then after that everybody was just crying.
Firefighters say the kids have minor injuries, but one woman had to be rescued from under the rubble.
Now, let's take a live look at our Sierra at Tahoe camera. The sun's coming up and it's casting its rays on the trees. There's also a fresh blanket of snow on the ground.
We will stay dry for the better part of the day. Here's a live look at the Golden Gate Bridge this morning. Starting off mild with temperatures hovering near that 50-degree mark for most locations. 49 though, San Jose. 48 in Santa Rosa at this hour and 46 in Livermore, so a tad bit cooler than what we've seen over the last couple of mornings because we don't have as much in the way of cloud cover. Partly sunny, the story today along the coast, the bay, and for folks inland, topping out in the mid to upper 60s for the warmest spots inland. Low 60s along the coast.
And new this morning, police are searching for a suspected hit-and-run driver after a woman was struck and killed in South San Francisco. It happened overnight outside the Brentwood Bowl on El Camino Real. You can see their personal belongings scattered across the roads. The lanes were closed down as officers investigated. And a Rock and Roll Hall of Famer played a concert for wildfire relief in Sonoma, and tickets were sold for $10,000 each. John Fogerty and his band donated their time for a performance at Hamill Family Wines yesterday. Tickets were so expensive because only 200 of them were sold, and around $2 million was raised. Along with the music, each ticket included a dinner from some prominent local chefs, and the winery also handed out 80 free tickets to wildfire survivors, first responders, and veterans. Also, an event called Sonoma Strong took place across town to help fire victims get their minds off recovery for a day. Now, people gathered at the old courthouse square in Santa Rosa to enjoy live music, food, and drinks for free. Organizers say it was a great way to bring the community back together.
After the fires were over and we started getting the recovery phase, we thought that it was really important to bring our community together and to bring some of our friends and colleagues together to say thank you to the community. The way not only our community here, but the entire state and country stood up behind us during our time of need.
President Trump in the Philippines now on the last leg of his trip across Asia. Mr. Trump touched down in Manila earlier this morning. He's expected to attend the Association of Southeast Asian Nations Summit during his time there. Meantime, this morning, the president's war of words on Twitter with North Korea leader Kim Jong-un continues to escalate. Before departing Vietnam yesterday, he tweeted this, quote, "Why would Kim Jong-un insult me by calling me old when I would never call him short and fat? Oh, well, I try so hard to be his friend, and maybe someday that will happen." At a news conference in Hanoi, the president insisted he wants to get along with all nations.
Getting along with other nations is a good thing, not a bad thing. Believe me, it's a good thing, not a bad thing.
President Trump will return to the White House on Tuesday.
Meanwhile, with the president out of the country, it was Vice President Mike Pence who commemorated Veterans Day at Arlington National Cemetery. The vice president led a somber observance, which included wreath-laying ceremony at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier and a Veterans Day address.
We're grateful for your service. We're grateful for your sacrifice. And I'll make you a promise. Just as you fought for us, we will always fight for you.
The vice president also joined several dozen volunteers for a holiday cleanup at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial.
And Republican Senate candidate Roy Moore is coming out swinging against accusations of sexual misconduct with underage girls decades ago. 4 women told the Washington Post that retired judge pursued them when they were teenagers, and Moore was in his 30s. Now, yesterday, he denied those allegations at a Veterans Day event.
They're completely false and untrue. They're very hurtful to me personally. It may very well determine the future of our country. My opponent is 11 points behind. That came out just days before this article came out. They're desperate.
Now, Moore did win the Republican primary and is set to run against Democrat Doug Jones in a general election for the Alabama Senate seat on December 12th. Now, that's the seat formerly held by Attorney General Jeff Sessions. It was supposed to be an easy win for a Republican like Moore, but now the National Republican Senatorial Committee is refusing to fundraise for him, and several Republican senators have pulled their endorsements. And a key figure at the California State Assembly is accused of groping a female staffer years ago. And now some say more needs to be done to get harassers out of leadership positions. When Raul Bocanegra was a staffer at the Capitol, he was ordered to stay away from a female staffer after she claimed he followed her at a work event and grabbed her breast. But he later went on to be elected to the Assembly. Now the chair of the state Democratic Party Women's Caucus is calling for independent investigations into these kind of misconduct claims.
This is not a Democratic problem, it's not a Republican problem, it's an American problem, and there has to be a bipartisan solution.
Now, the Women's Caucus is also calling for a victim-centered crisis hotline to report sexual allegations of misconduct at the Capitol.
And meanwhile, the Republican tax plan could add a price tag of the new Raiders Stadium in Las Vegas. Now, the Raiders are expected to break ground tomorrow on their new $1.9 billion home about a mile west of the Strip. But a big part of that stadium deal would be paid for with tax-exempt bonds. And the tax plan could render that exemption and take it away under the House version of the tax bill. Team officials say they could add an extra $3 million a year to the overall stadium costs. The Raiders hope to start playing in Las Vegas as early as 2020.
And PG&E now says that the cause of the Tubbs fire may be from a power line owned by a third party. Now, PG&E made the claim in a legal filing, saying the particular power line under investigation is not owned or operated by the utility. Now, the filing did not mention the name of the other owner. PG&E is facing at least 15 lawsuits for not maintaining its equipment and for failing to trim vegetation near power lines. CAL FIRE is still investigating the cause of those wine country fires. And the clock is ticking for Napa and Sonoma County residents who lost their homes in the wildfires if they want to sign up for free debris removal. Here's how the process works. Homeowners who want to participate in the government-sponsored debris removal program must submit a right of entry form to their county's designated center by close of business tomorrow. And the forms must be signed by all owners, trustees, and anyone with power of attorney related to the property. And for more information on this, go to sonomarecovers.org or countyofnapa.org. In the meantime, a water warning is out for part of Santa Rosa. It affects 13 homes in Fountain Grove on Crown Hill Drive at Fir Ridge Drive. The water department found slightly elevated levels of some contaminants, and officials say that they will notify homeowners when the water is safe again.
Heads up, if you're planning on visiting Disneyland this holiday season, the happiest place on earth is involved in a bit of a health scare, a Legionnaire's disease outbreak. According to Orange County healthcare officials, 9 Disneyland visitors were exposed to the bacteria that causes the disease. Doctors say it's a bacteria that comes from air conditioning, but in Disneyland's case, it was 2 cooling towers that appear to be the source.
Once they have the symptoms, it's not like the typical walking pneumonia. They are quite sick. People have cough, high fevers, chest pain because they've been hacking. They feel very ill. Their body aches.
Disneyland has shut down the 2 cooling towers while they work at cleaning out the bacteria. Doctors say there is no longer any known risk.